So today we are here with Melissa McPherson, and we're talking about empowered women. And I wanted to bring you in because I've partnered with Safe Harbor Title, which is there. And we had a closing this morning, so it's like, and we did not plan the matching outfit. It's kind of funny. Like I look like we're wearing uniforms in a way. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing I want to ask you is, what is your journey like? I sent you all these questions, and I'm doing these interviews, and you're early on in this journey of sharing, because I've been sharing what I've gone through, and I'm just curious like what other people have gone through and what the similarities are and what the challenges have been. Melissa is the owner of Safe Harbor Title Company, and she is a powerhouse woman that has entered in a man-centric field. I think any woman that has fought in that way has gone through what you've gone through, and I thought it's very important. You're a mother of two. You've gone through a divorce, you're remarried, you've gone through good and bad and ugly, all the things.
Recession,
many different markets. And so I wanted to see your thoughts on how did you do this, and what is the biggest skills that you think you've learned in the process? So just a little bit about you. And
wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's kind of just like a conversation, because I think women want to hear like, oh, I could do that. Yeah. It's not that bad, but it's hard. You're going to go through the work, but you can do it.
But you can do it.
Yeah.
Anyone can.
I love the story when you said you started this business out of college and were meant.
Well, no, I didn't start it out of college. It always kind of stuck in the back of my head. And then I get into this world, and it seemed like such a clever name for a title company.
It is clever, and I think it's so different than any others.
It's just by chance that it's women.
Yeah.
But the positions that we have here and throughout the title industry are typically held by women.
Really?
Yes. Most of the closers and underwriters, most are women. Where it switches over to a more male-centric population is really at the C-suite level.
Yeah.
With the corporate companies, and then of course like attorneys and things like that. That's sort of where it can be more male dominated.
It's kind of like Mad Men, that show. I think it's interesting, and for people that don't know Safe Harbor Title, some states are attorney states for closings, and some states are title company states. And in Virginia, you can do either.
Right.
And so what happens is when you go to sell your house, whether you're buying or selling, you have someone representing you to do all the paperwork and kind of be the conduit to do the recordings, to get your insurance. And that's what this company does. Right. If you've never bought a house, it's a huge piece of it. And you guys kind of like it's like the deposit bank of all the paperwork and all the monies and all the things. And so,
well, the most simplistic way to explain it is we transfer ownership from the seller to the buyer.
Makes so much college.
Yeah. It certainly goes much deeper than that. But like the quickest and easiest explanation that I give most people who have no idea is we transfer the ownership from the seller to you, and we also handle the money. So when you give us your money as the buyer, the lender gives us the money that you've borrowed, and we disperse those funds to the seller, to
the vendors, whatever have you,
everything like that. So that's just the simplest way.
Thank you. For those of you watching, that's like, I need to
simplest thing.
I will use that. Like, what do they do again? Like, because some people just don't get it.
Yeah, right.
And so before we get into all this, we're like, what company does she run? What is that? It's kind of like people explaining medical things and you don't even know what it is.
Right.
It's hysterical.
We don't have to do like textbook versions that don't make sense to most people that don't work in real estate, because your average person in real estate or your average home buyer is really only going to do this a couple of times. They don't have to be an expert. They just need to know. Or once.
I love this. I have to say this on video. Melissa came prepared. I sent her all these questions and she like typed everything out. And that's like a testament to how you do everything in life, I think.
Yes.
So being prepared is what the number one thing I think is, being ready for anything that could come your way, being professional. You're always ultra professional.
I try to be, yes.
Even though I think sometimes you want to punch people in the face.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As do everybody. But yes. We try really hard not to.
I have to ask you this one.
Okay.
The pivotal moments. You know, like you have a moment and you look back. You may not know that moment in the moment, just like the name of the company.
Yeah.
But if you were to look back at the moments, what were the big moments you were like, this is a moment.
Right.
This is a moment. I need to snapshot that from my like diary or whatever.
Yeah, it started early and I didn't realize it. It took me a very long time before I realized just how early the little bug had been planted in me. My first few jobs were with national title companies. And my job with those companies was to maintain a relationship between the national company and the smaller title agency like Safe Harbor Title. Maintain that relationship, because a company like Safe Harbor Title writes title insurance policies on behalf of the national company. So that was my job. I maintained the relationship. And then it evolved into a little bit more where I would actually be asked by different people to help them set up their own title agencies. And of course it behooved me to do that because then that title agency would write title policies on the national company I was working for. The little bug started right about then when I started setting up the companies for people or helping them. And it just sort of was very, I don't want to say easy because it's not, but it came easy to me. It made sense, all the steps. Not just the administrative things about how to set up a company, but also, all right, now we need different insurance policies in place. Now we need software. Now we need bank accounts. And then, of course, okay, now we need business and we need operating. I mean, those things just all really flowed very naturally to me. And so honestly, it probably became a real thing in my mind in about 2006 or 7. I ended up actually doing it in 2010.
After the big old crash.
After the crash.
You went into it dark.
When everyone thought I was a complete lunatic.
That's amazing.
That was
Kendra Scott was like that. She grew her business in the recession. They say the best businesses and the biggest businesses are all started during a recession or a depression.
This is bleep worthy. But I have a framed quote in my office because I started my company in the recession. I had 2 small children. My husband at the time was also in the real estate industry. As a lender, rates were up. It was really not a great time for those of us in real estate. It's a quote from an Eminem song, and it says, "Success is my only MFing option.
Yeah.
Failure is not."
Oh yes, I love that song
because there is no
when you burn the ships.
Right.
They always say that, and I think I mentioned that in a couple of videos past on my journey. I also burned my ship.
Yeah.
So I had no choice.
Right.
So I think what we see, and I'm sure you see this too in agents, because you deal with a lot of agents, commercial, of the ones that don't really have to work.
Yeah.
We know those people.
Right.
Or they kind of are like, well, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
They have other ways to make money, I guess,
Right.
or the people supporting them. They don't really seem to work.
Right. No. There was no choice. This had to work. I had a mortgage. We had car payments. We had daycare payments. This.
And you made it work.
Yeah. I mean, now granted, I had a plan B.
Yes.
As I think is the smart thing for everyone to have.
So have a plan B.
But yes, I had a plan B that I was 100% okay with taking if I had to.
That's why I was curious. What are the things that I'm going to hear over and over again when I talk to people that, how do you handle problems? Probably the same way I handle problems. Like, what do you freak out and then handle it? Or do you kind of like, okay, let's go down and take care of it?
Yeah.
Have the hard conversation. I hate those.
It's no fun. I really dread them.
It makes me sick to my stomach.
I know. But I'll say they get easier as the years go by.
I agree with you. I think it's our age, though.
Yeah.
We're exactly the same age.
Yeah.
And my mom said that to me. She's in her 70s, and she's like, oh, just wait till you get to my age. You really don't care about me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm always polite. And
but you don't take it as like, if someone is upset with you, it has nothing to do with you. That's not, it has nothing to do with you. And I think in the past, you kind of carry things and people's stuff with you, and I'm like, I don't have to have that anymore.
Yeah.
So.
I just don't procrastinate having those conversations like I used to.
Do you think it's made it better for you by not procrastinating?
Yes.
And taking care of things earlier?
Yes.
Not kicking the can down the road?
Yeah.
I would say that I've learned that as well.
Yeah. There's not one hard conversation I wish I'd had later. All of them across the board, I honestly wish I'd had them sooner. Like, that's my regret.
Because it's never going to change. Yeah. It's not going to get better.
Right.
That's true. In your mind, like, what's your game plan?
I don't know, to be honest with you. And, it's funny, I guess you hit that age and the company is old enough now where people have been asking me that a lot. And I don't know. We are always growing. Like, this company is always growing. We are always looking for the next opportunity, the next client to bring in, the next relationship to build. But as far as, do I want to grow to be, of a national stature? No. But do I want to be complicit with what we've got? No. So I don't know. I'm just going to keep going. I think I will come to a point in my life where it's time for me to start thinking about that, and I don't think I've gotten there yet.
Yeah, because I was just curious about, I've been very open with sharing about what I wanted even 5 years ago is nothing that I want today, because we're evolving and changing and growing and we're in seasons of life.
Right.
And I think that's really important for people watching this too. Someone that's 25, this is not going to land with them. But they may think, wow, when I get to that point, like you're going to be complete empty nester soon.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so it may change again when Jack leaves, right? And so it's like that whole piece too. Like we're facing, we have a long time, by the way.
Right,
We have a 7-year-old. I don't know what we're thinking.
I have 2 kids that are in college, so they're going, one is in and one is going. So I have no...
So if you could see a different version of yourself, is there anything in the back of your heart you're like, oh, I wish I'd tried that? Or are you doing everything you want to do?
The only thing I really had wanted to do when I was younger, right out of college, I don't like to say I have regrets because I don't. This has worked out really well for me, and I feel really very fortunate. But I really wanted to be a lobbyist. I went to George Mason. I majored in political science. I loved the government process. I really wanted to be as close to DC as I could get. I loved all of that stuff. I loved touring the Supreme Court and all those things. Planned to go work on the Hill after college graduation. It just didn't work out that way. It didn't pay enough, and I'm sure it still doesn't, so that you could get your own place and that sort of thing. And I was done living with people. And I loved the idea of that job. I just wasn't sure that I wanted to stay up there and be like broke with a bunch of roommates anymore. I needed a break from that. And I came home where I grew up in Richmond, and I came home and lived with my parents and for about a week after graduation, and I ended up with a job in title insurance, and that was 24 years ago.
I do believe prayers that don't get answered guide you to where you're supposed to be at sometimes, and you don't even know why. Well, there's that thing, I was at Tony Robbins' thing, and he taught, remember the Field of Dreams? And he was a doctor and he wanted to play baseball. And then he helped that person. He had to decide whether he was going to go across a road. But sometimes when you're following your dreams, you find your destiny. So your destiny is this. And like you wouldn't be affecting so many people the way you do now. And it's kind of cool.
I mean, like I said, I don't have any regrets. It's just that was one thing that I had really wanted. But it changed pretty quickly, and then I didn't really think much about it.
Do you think owning a business gives you better quality of life, like personal time, or are you struggling with the balance piece?
I don't struggle with the balance myself, but I think if I were talking to somebody who was considering becoming a business owner, I would caution them that if you do really value your personal time, if you are a person that wants to shut your phone off at 5 o'clock and not pick it up again until 8:30 in the morning, or particularly in real estate, if you're someone that doesn't want to answer on a Saturday, then owning a business is not maybe necessarily for you.
I would think that's for any business. Like if you're a restaurant, lawyer, everybody that owns a business, even if you go on vacation, your business isn't shut down.
No. And that's the thing that I was looking at your questions and thinking about, and through a lot of other women's networking groups that I'm involved in, the whole work-life balance question is always being asked at everything I go to, and for years. And what I have come up with is that work-life balance, there's no right answer. It's what works for each individual. So if you ask me, for the most part, I have work-life balance, but another person could walk in my shoes and say, this is not work-life balance. It's what I've created in my circle, with my family, with my business, with what needs to get done, that works for us.
I think that's exactly how I would say it for myself. Because I think people think I'm a lunatic, and there are days I feel like a lunatic, but I'm happy. I'm happy running the business. It gives me fulfillment. So I think there's a big business person, Layla Hormozy, I don't know if people, all she does is work. No kids. She doesn't want kids. Like, work is her life, and she loves it. And so, like, for someone that sees that, maybe like, that's horrible. Well, she's happy. So why is that horrible? That's like everyone's viewpoint. Just like there's that concept in our contracts that says like broom swept clean. You have to be clean, and everybody's a concept of clean. It's different.
For whatever it's worth, it has to be what works for you individually. And it also changes. When I started the company, my kids were little, like kindergarten age. And now, you know, I've got one in college and one's a senior. So what they need from me now is completely different from what they needed from me then. And the last 14 years, it's evolved. And so I evolve our schedule around what they need and what the company needs.
I think that's smart. And I think that's a really good piece of advice people will take away. If you had to give 2 words of advice to your past self, what would it be? Because I think a lot of people want to know, like, would you do it differently? I don't think I would do it differently, because I think everything got you to where you are. Even in choices, like your kids wouldn't be here if you hadn't married your husband.
All those things.
All those things. So you're exactly where you're supposed to be is what I always say when I'm kind of going through stuff. But at the same time, like you said, I could have skipped some of the difficult stuff.
One of the things that I think slowed me down, or at least didn't allow me to get up and running as quickly as I would have liked was in the first few years, I was very reluctant to hire.
Oh,
I was very reluctant to delegate.
Yes.
Had I just bit the bullet and done that, hey,
You might not be perfect, but we're
may not be
yeah.
perfect. It may not be the right person. It might be too much money right now. But I need some help. I need some people to come in and, do some admin stuff for me. And maybe different things that in the beginning I was really cautious about spending the money on or especially bringing somebody on. I would have done that. I would have brought in more resources for help for me because, I was working around the clock back then, doing everything, setting up phone lines and
not using your highest best use of time.
Right.
And this is something, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's so many people are like, I got it. I'm not going to pay someone. It's a waste of money and not realizing you're getting your time back.
Right. My biggest strength is business development.
Yeah.
Outside of everything that I do all day long, that's what I do the best and what I enjoy doing. But you get bogged down and all the administrative stuff that you're like, oh, only I can do that. And especially in the beginning when you really need to be building clients.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, if you have a hype song, what is it? Is it the Eminem song?
Eminem song. Oh, yeah.
I love it.
I jam to that.
Because I always tell people, like, when they get in a really bad state, like, what's your hype song? You need to listen to your hype song to get you out of that place.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'll feel
totally
better.
gets me going. I
love it.
I love it. That's why I framed the quote. I'm like, this.
I love that.
Yes, I'm like, this is me, and
Well,
and I don't feel sorry for myself or anything.
No.
I'm like, this is just me. Like I don't have the magic net underneath me.
Well, it's interesting because I think outside looking in, I know you closer than just business, but I'm not like hanging out with you all weekend long, right? You don't show every side to me. Like I'm not seeing you like falling down on the ground, but I'm sure it would be okay if I did.
Yes.
But in the sense of what you put out in the public is very, powerhouse woman. And I think that's why it's important to show people like there is a vulnerability to us as women and that we are humans and that we go through all the same things that other women go through. And it's interesting, I think, in this world that we're in now, we kind of battle ourselves and it's unfortunate, and I think we need to get to a better place of helping younger women.
Yes.
That's like what I'm trying to do is guide people that are in a place of helplessness. Maybe they're in a bad situation or they're reevaluating what they want, or their kids suck the life out of them and they're ready to do something different. Like life is just beginning for us now, and if you have kids going off to school and you're still in your 40s 50s, like you have another 30 40 years at least. So what are you going to do, just sit there and be sad that they're gone?
I mean, there's a lot of different things that can happen in a woman's life. Or anyone's, really, that your whole trajectory in a second. And so I focus quite a bit on empowering women, particularly young women. And I do focus on careers in title insurance, if not just real estate. And I think it's important. They call it in title insurance, and they may call it this in other industries as well, but they call it a silver tsunami, where the average age of a title employee is creeping up into the 40s now.
You need another wave coming through.
We need new people coming through. And it's not necessarily an industry that people hear or know about through college or through a friend, you're a real estate agent, you're much more in the public. So I really am trying to use a little bit of my network and experiences and things like that to introduce younger women to my industry in particular, because I do think that it offers a lot of opportunity that I think goes missed.
We should talk about that. Like if you develop some type of a training class where people will get skilled before they go out there, they can go. Because a lot of people don't get jobs because they don't have the experience. And how are they going to get the experience? We're kind of like, it's this weird, shoot before, cart before the horse.
Or they don't know. Like I've never heard of that.
There's so many things that we've never heard of.
And
you're like, that's a job all the time. It's really funny to me. So
I spend a lot of time
thinking
and like networking in that area. So one of our clients is a big supporter of the real estate school at Virginia Tech.
Oh, very
so
cool.
I've spoken with him, and he connected me with the professors there to talk about maybe doing a little bit of a talk to some classes about what title insurance is, and maybe internships and things like that to introduce younger people to.
I think that's
industry.
really smart. And just developing it openly, because I think people kind of. It's like little clubs sometimes, and you can't break in sometimes to things. But do you read?
Yes.
What are you reading now?
I just finished We Don't Live Here Anymore.
Oh.
It was like a quick, easy read. It's not, like...
Do you read business books?
I read business journals. Like, I read the news and everything every day.
You say expert stuff.
But I don't, like Wall Street Journal and all that stuff.
That's
but I don't, Reuters, all that. The most businessy kind of book I read recently was called The Checklist Manifesto. It's great. And I live my entire life by a checklist.
That's what I was saying. This is your whole industry is a checklist.
Yeah.
So I just finished Roy Vaden's, and he spoke at our conference, Take the Stairs.
Oh.
It's really good. It's very easy to read.
Yeah.
And then Unreasonable Hospitality, I love. It's one of my favorite. By Will Guidara.
Yeah.
So was the owner of L11 Madison, the number one restaurant in the world in Manhattan.
Okay.
It's a Michelin restaurant.
Oh, wow.
And it was like his whole journey to get to number one and everything. It reads like a fiction book. It's fantastic.
Oh.
And it's actually really good because you kind of do the things that other title companies don't do, like the things that you do to connect and stay connected to your partners and things like that.
Right.
It's about that unreasonable hospitality.
Yeah.
And he says the saying that service is in black and white and hospitality is in color. And I was like, oh my God, I love it.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool. I always like to ask that last little bit, what do you do to get better and all that stuff. So
I used to be a voracious reader of anything, but time takes its toll. And usually I just fall asleep. So I read everything in the mornings.
It's kind of like you're trying to do things, but you have to read for your business. I appreciate the time.
Thank
I
you.
came here in the wind. It was fun, and I
know.
wanted to highlight you, and I wanted to share who are others. Like Michael, he's like, you have to talk to Melissa. And I was like, I wonder if she would do it.
Really
and
fun.
so it's just fun because I want to. Have aspirations for this channel. I don't really want to just help people. And
I want to help you do it. It's amazing. I love this.